Meeting to order. Pledge allegiance, please. Before I go to the next part of the agenda, I just want to mention that the meeting is being televised and it's being taped, but there's no Zoom tonight, so there's no school. Sorry, how about now? The meeting is being televised and it's being taped, but there's no Zoom. There are no school committee members that are signed up for Zoom, and there's no public that was signed up for Zoom, so we're going to proceed with the meeting. Is there anybody recording the meeting? If so, please state your name. Thank you. Announcements for members participating remotely, we have none. Roll call, please.
Mayor View, Ms. Russo. Here. Mr. Barcelo.
Present.
Mr. Doubt.
Here.
Mrs. Perrette.
Present.
Mrs. Schofield.
Here.
Mr. Brooks.
Here.
Mr. Lamoth.
Here.
Mr. Gerard.
Here.
Mr. Bernard.
Here.
Mrs. Lopes.
Present.
Mr. Zatella.
Yes.
11 present, 1 absent.
You can tell I'm rusty. I skipped part of the agenda. Could I have a moment of silence for those that serve in the military and all others that help protect us? Thank you. Mayor View was not with us tonight because he's out in California celebrating his daughter's graduation, and that's a monumental task for everybody. Thank you. Public announcements by committee members.
I would just like to say congratulations to the National Honor Society at Chicopee High School. I had the privilege of attending their ceremony. And the future of Chicopee, if these kids are involved, is definitely looking better. Thank you.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes, I would like to echo your sentiments with the National Honor Society. Also give a shout out to the Drama Club at Comp. The production of Once Upon a Mattress was fabulous. It was very enjoyable. And also the choir at Chicopee High last night. So also I wanted to just point out to the committee members as well as the public, Mr. Bernard, Mr. Brooks and myself attended a conference in New Orleans the beginning of April, and it was the National School Committee Association, and some of the sessions that we went to were, well, all of the sessions we went to were extremely informative and had lots of pertinent information. And some of the striking, the keynote speakers, one of the keynote speaker, it was Tim Shriver, and I have put on everyone's place. Dr. Tim Shriver is the head of a company called Dignity Index, and what he deals with and goes around the country and tries to deal with not only school committee members, but in this day and age that we live in where the country's divided and so divisive, and there's so much animosity when people disagree and have different viewpoints. So he talked at great length at building skills for dignified disagreements. And we've all been in heated arguments and heated meetings where we had opposing points of view. And so what he suggests is methods and skills that we could teach and share with one another, which are listed on the card. Just to give you examples, be curious, not furious, regulate, then debate, listen to hear, not to respond, challenge ideas, don't attack people, acknowledge knowledge. When someone else makes a logical, interesting point, acknowledge their point, and build up rather than tear down. And then he also supplied language and models of things that you can say when you, different degrees of how language can be toxic when you're disagreeing. And, you know, on his index scale, this dignity index scale, he said like an 8. It goes from 1 to 8, and it says an 8 response would be, each of us is born with inherent worth, so we treat everyone with dignity no matter what. Mm-hmm. A 1 would be, they're not even human. It's our mortal duty to destroy them before they destroy us. So you can see the gamut. So I just wanted to share that. Also, another keynote speaker was Ruby Bridges, who was the first African-American girl in 1960 to be attend a school for desegregation in the South, and she spoke of her personal experiences and the path that she took in life, and how much it wasn't so much race that was separating her, but it was evil. She said many people were, evil was a tool that we just need to try and avoid. And that's, I know it's long-winded, but I wanted to share because it was a really important message.
Mrs. Lopes.
Thank you, Superintendent, for responding to Mrs. Jasinski's email very respectfully and setting up a date for many that want to get involved on May 23rd at 2:45 at Chicopee High School for an open forum on Mrs. Jasinski's concerns that I've spoken to in the past. So she's one of our great teachers over at Chicopee High School, and we're really fortunate to have her. She's very professional. Thank you for that.
Mr. Sedella. Mr. Gerard.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment and welcome you all to the City Hall Auditorium. For those of you that haven't been here ever, this is a beautiful place. They did a great job renovating this space, and it's used for many, many different events throughout the year. So thank you for all being here tonight. And those of you past and present that are involved, working for the Chicopee Public Schools, thank you for all you do for our students. Thank you.
Mrs. Perrette.
Yeah, I'd like to continue the salute to our students, as Mr. Brooks and Ms. Schofield previously stated. Congratulations to the Chicopee Comprehensive students who were recently recognized for their outstanding contributions to the Youth Advisory Board. The students were collaborating with the District Attorney's Office and were recognized for their efforts most recently at the Basketball Hall of Fame. And the Chicopee Comprehensive students that were recognized were Nayshali Caraballo, Zahra Karim, and Ayan Katak. So thank you so much to these students for their contributions to this committee. And also, I know we just ended National Teachers Appreciation Week on the 10th of May with the national theme being Teachers Are Shining Stars, and you make the world a brighter place one student at a time, and that is so true. And we also ended National Nurses Week during that same time period. The last day was May 12th, and the theme for National Nurses Week were Nurses Make a Difference. So our teachers and our nurses, we thank you very much for all of the efforts that you make on behalf of the Chicopee Public School students. Thank you.
Ms. Russo.
Yeah, quickly, also want to thank both teachers and nurses for all you do. After hopefully you felt recognized in some form last week. Separately, outside of all the congratulations that we had about the high schools, I do want to congratulate any seniors that are wrapping up their sports season. I know I personally know seniors that have participated in their last meet or game, so I hope that they continue to use the camaraderie and the sportsmanship that they were able to build up in those sports as they move on and leave their mark on our community.
Mr. Doubt.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Mr. Bernard.
All set, thank you, Mr. Lamoth.
Mr. Barstow.
Yes, there was an article in the Republican last week, and I want to highlight some of the key points. Massachusetts Teachers Association says MCAS test robs students of authentic learning. Well, apparently, you can see that somebody's finally woken up. I mean, I've been fighting this for 25 years because I've seen how many of my former students were destroyed by this meaningless test. But it's always the legislature that throws a monkey wrench in. And it's embarrassing because these people, I can guarantee you, none of our state legislators have ever been in a classroom, okay? So they're just talking about something that they can't relate to. The problem with MCAS is it doesn't really help those kids who have skills in other areas besides the subject areas that are tested. I brought up this story before in the past. Some of you might remember that one of my former visual arts students took the math portion of the MCAS exam 17 times because the first time she missed it by 2 points. Well, she finally, after all those years and taking it and passing, she finally got a degree in visual arts, and she's a successful artist. But that was her passion. That's where her skills were in that particular area, painting, drawing. She just could do it. It was all automatic for her, like breathing. So to test students and not really understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, if it came down to weakness, if I had to take the MCAS when I was in high school, I would have never passed the math portion, and it just wasn't my thing. So I relate to my student, okay? I mean, art and music were my things, okay? And that's where I was successful. But unfortunately, some people don't pay any attention to that. So some of the key points in here are that hopefully it will go on the ballot, and if it does, I would encourage anyone to vote against continuing MCAS as a graduation requirement. I can see it as a way to gauge students' strengths and weaknesses, but after 13 years in school, you're going to deny a student their high school diploma because of a meaningless test. Like I said earlier, I saw how a lot of students' lives were destroyed by this test. Some of them just dropped out, never took it again. What happens to those kids? And I used to bring that up all the time. What happens to the kids that never passed MCAS or just dropped out of high school because they knew they could never pass it? The problem with that is that if you don't have a high school diploma, you can't go to college. If you don't have a high school diploma, you can't go in the military. So these are things that the legislature needs to be aware of, because it's important that kids are able to find their own path and be able to get on with their lives. But kids crying on graduation day because they find out on the last day of school that they're not getting a diploma, they're getting a certificate of achievement, okay, which is basically meaningless. So, I mean, I could go on and on about my personal stories of seeing how it hurt a lot of kids, but I would just encourage anyone out there who read this article, or if it becomes more prominent in the news and it does hopefully end up on the ballot, they will, vote against MCAS as a graduation requirement.
Open public input. Speakers shall be properly identify themselves by providing their name and address. There will be a time limit of 30 minutes and/or a time limit of 3 minutes per individual speaker. Speakers will be chosen on a first-come, first-served basis. Topics for discussion should be limited to those items within the school committee's scope of authority. Comments and complaints regarding personnel, apart from the superintendent or students, are generally prohibited unless those comments or complaints concern matters within the scope of school committee authority. The chair of the meeting shall, after a warning, reserve the right to terminate speech which is not constitutionally protected because it constitutes true threats and likely provoke a violent reaction, cause and breach of peace, incident imminent with lawless conduct, or contains obscenities. Questions asked by the public will be referred to the committee on an administrative staff for consideration and later response. We will not be responding during the meeting to this open input. I would like to ask one of my members to extend public input because I have 12 members and I want to make sure they all get a chance.
I would like to make a motion to extend the speaking time of all speakers this evening and waive the 3-minute rule.
Second that motion.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? So be it. Gina Petorsky-Dahl.
Excuse me, Mr. Lamoth. I'm sorry. So that's a waiver of school committee policy, so I think that requires a roll call.
Can I have a roll call, please? Sorry, Gina.
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
Ms. Russo? Yes. Mr. Barcelo? Yes. Mr. Doubt,
Yes.
Mrs. Perrette,
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Lamoth,
Yes.
Mr. Gerard,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
11 yes.
Passes. Gina, please.
Good evening. Gina Petorsky Dahl, 68 Woodbridge Road, Chicopee, Massachusetts, and Chicopee Comprehensive High School. I do offer a semi-solution this evening rather than just complaint. So, classroom discipline is more challenging than ever. Arguing with teachers is common, and more serious disruptions have increased. Insults, threats, and hostile comments have also increased significantly since COVID and require substantial involvement from administration. The additional vice principal jobs at the high school provide crucial disciplinary support that teachers need. Dealing in a timely manner with daily, frequent incidents often requires a meeting with an administrator, caregiver, student, and likely a counselor. Remember, schools are under enormous pressure to avoid traditional disciplinary consequences such as suspension. Alternative discipline is even more time-consuming. If we are serious about maintaining a learning environment that doesn't devolve into chaos, then positions that provide support to teachers must be made permanent. The VP job during the school day is almost exclusive disciplinary. We can't claim to be taking teachers' concerns about safety and their dignity seriously while removing crucial supports, such as a VP at each high school. VPs are also handling student complaints or parent concerns or issues about instruction, curriculum expectations, and/or assessments and grades when content specialists are out of a particular building because they split their time between multiple buildings, and they would normally handle many of those issues. If the committee wants to wait for more data before deciding whether to make positions permanent, can they specify how we measure the collective stress and anxiety experienced building-wide in the current educational environment? And have we factored in teachers who have left Chicopee and who are going to leave? The teacher shortage crisis is certainly going to worsen. According to MTA Today, there are around 5,000 unfilled teacher positions and 1,000 ESP para openings in Massachusetts this spring. 55% of teachers statewide admit to seriously thinking about leaving the profession altogether. Teacher training programs have fewer than half the candidates they did a decade ago. Undergraduate interest in teaching as a profession is dwindling. The choice is clear: invest now or pay more later when the system is even more broken. Districts that pay more and support teachers more now are going to win, and districts that don't are going to lose. And it's Chicopee students and Chicopee teachers who will pay the price. Thank you.
Michelle Foley, please.
Good evening. My name's Michelle Foley, and I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm also a 27-year teacher at Chicopee Comp. Tonight, I'm going to be reading a statement from a teacher who was both verbally assaulted and punched in the face yesterday. He is not comfortable sharing this just yet. As both a teacher and alum of Chicopee Public Schools, it saddens me greatly to say that my perspective of our district has been severely tainted after an incident yesterday where I was assaulted by a student. For 12 years as a student and 6 years as a teacher, I had never truly felt unsafe in our district, trusting that those in control were safeguarding both students and staff against external threats. Even during a lockdown incident in a previous school year where I sheltered in a supply room with my students and was released by police armed with rifles and vests, I never truly feared for my safety. But yesterday shattered that illusion of safety and forced me to confront the reality that our district has changed and that I now have to face the very real possibility that the very students that I have to stand in front of and lead every day may be a threat to my safety. Over the past couple of years, there has been a marked change in the culture of our school and our district. Students have become increasingly unresponsive to the authority of staff and faculty to the point of outright insubordination. At any given time, if you were to walk down a hallway at Chicopee High School, you would see no less than 5 and at times greater than 20 students out and about skipping classes without permission or documentation. This presents not only a disruption to the learning environment of those who want to learn, but as I learned yesterday, a very real threat to the safety and well-being of other students and staff as well. The disrespect and indifference towards staff members in the district has crushed the morale of teachers in our building. At Chicopee High School, in the past 2 years, I have watched multiple new and veteran teachers decide to transfer to the other high school in our city, leave the district, or abandon education altogether because of the way they were treated by our students, and I honestly cannot blame them. There have been times this year when I have dreaded coming to work and regretted my decision to become a teacher altogether. Despite changes in policy, administration, and approaches to discipline, there has been a marked increase in apathy and indifference towards participation in class, the number of fights between students, verbal abuse towards faculty, and now physical violence against teachers. This cannot be allowed to continue, and such offenses cannot go unpunished. This should not become the new normal of our school district. This incident, though it has affected me, should be made an example so that this does not continue to happen to others, as I know it has been happening to others at various grade levels across the district. Students should be in school to learn, and there should be a zero-tolerance policy for verbal and physical abuse towards other students and staff members. This is not an issue of kids just being kids. This is beyond what we were trained and equipped to handle. For the last 6 years, I have been involved in after-school clubs, class advising, National Honor Society, as well as helping to develop the curriculum for the new Pathways Health Vocational Track for students interested in medical career futures. I am a very dedicated member of the faculty, and I want to continue to be a strong member of the faculty at Chicopee High School. I want to be proud of our schools in our district, especially at Chicopee High School, where we laud ourselves on our Pacer pride. Last week, I had the distinct pleasure of inducting 15 of our exemplary students into the National Honor Society. That moment was the only time this school year when I felt any sort of pride in our students or hope in the direction of the district. Then yesterday, I was struck twice in the head by a student while trying to get him to leave the halls and return to class instead of skipping. We are told to be a presence in the hallways to help cut down on the rampant skipping issue, and this is the result of me trying to do that part of my job. The alternative is for me to ignore the large amount of disruptive hallway chaos, and that does not solve the issue either. Any pride I had previously in our schools has been extinguished and has been replaced with the fear that this sort of assault could happen again, and shame that our schools have gotten this chaotic and unmanageable. Thank you for your attention to these concerns, and I hope we can work together to address these issues for the betterment of Chicopee High School. Thank you.
Christine Avery.
Good evening. My name is Christine Avery, and I'm allocating my time to Laura DeMarcus.
Hello, my name is Sarah Morrow, and I am giving my time to Laura DeMarcus.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Kane, and I'm allotting my time to Laura DeMarcus.
Evan Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Evan Rodriguez, and I'm yielding my time to Laura DeMarcus.
Thank you. Laura DeMarcus.
They're just doing that because I'm retiring. So clearly that was arranged before you were going to allow us to have the time we have. So, and we were all like, what do we do? What do we do? So thank you for that. First, I really want to welcome all of you new, but not so new people anymore, and thank you for your service to Chicopee Public Schools. And I'm sorry, this is the first time I'm getting up here to do that. I'm here tonight, as well as many CEA members, to inform you, to ask you for answers, and to ask you to take action. As many of you know, I'm taking an early retirement from education, stepping down as CEA president. I cannot be part of an educational system that is normalizing a threatening, degrading, violent workplace for educators and students. There is so much more of putting out fires than education going on. None of us should be willing to be part or privy to such a system, yet we are. Let me inform you from quotes that I've had to read throughout the year from my members. And these are write-ups or just conversations about what students are saying to them. You can't effing do anything. Get the F away from me. Suck my D. Use of the B word directly towards us. Use of the C word towards us. These are just some of the lovely language we are getting from students. Being punched, kicked, threatened, bit, spit at, hit with a clipboard, hit with a chair, pushed to the ground are just some of the types of assaults occurring. And then just yesterday, as you heard, there was this. The teacher was trying to get the student to class, which is part of our job, to keep students in class and out of hallways, and was punched twice by the same student. He was knocked down, punched, pushed, and, quote, being struck painfully in the left side of my face and neck. I'm not sure whether the strike came first, but I was struck hard and was stunned for a moment, watching my glasses fly from my face several feet across the ground. Reeling from the hit, seeing stars, I staggered for a moment before recovering. Unfortunately, I had not recovered quickly enough, as I was struck into the opposite side of my head and neck, sending me shocked and staggering a second time. This is what I received at 9:30 last night, and no, I didn't sleep after that. And let's not blame the administrators, and to be clear, they're feeling frustrated too, as they're stuck in the middle of everything and being attacked on all sides. From my administrators in the CEA feeling that frustration and also subject to abuse from all directions, I quote, "The state mandates on discipline, documentation, and the expectations of supporting our milieu is draining with no real solutions to support us. The school committee should be aware and make more efforts to provide support so we can do our jobs effectively, without fear of reprisals from without or from within our own buildings. The district is not fully equipping itself to meet the needs of the community we serve." Please stop telling people or thinking that these behaviors are to be expected from students to some degree. Your educated, certified veteran professionals are telling you it is happening at an abusive level that is absolutely and unequivocally not what should be expected. Never in my 23 years of teaching did I ever think I would see educators get treated this way on a regular basis, with disruption in classrooms happening so often to the point of not being able to teach, sometimes not being able to maintain classroom, hallway, or building composure. Thank God it doesn't happen in every class, but it is happening in every building. It should not happen at all, period. Our staff doesn't deserve it, and our students don't deserve it. In a recent presentation by the Department of Labor Standards, they stated, "It is not part of a teacher's job to get injured at work." I would change that to an educator's job. Not one person in a building, a school building, should expect to go in and get hurt on a daily basis. At all, at any basis. So last year, the CEA decided to turn to the Department of Labor Standards. We had a case in one school only, but I can tell you that the finding from that school could be applied to other schools here in Chicopee, and maybe soon. So to quote from that DLS report that hopefully you all have received and read, and I quote from the DLS about Chicopee Public Schools, "School staff, from teachers to paraprofessionals, sustained several serious injuries, such as rotator cuff, whiplash, popped blood vessels, and injuries to back and neck. The school did not provide support when a student profile changed by exhibiting dysregulated behavior for months. An employee sustained severe injuries from a student and is still out of work." Again, from that same report. Personal protection equipment, such as bite guards, crash pads, and long sleeves, are not provided for staff. Procedures to report incidents and injuries were not known or understood by all staff in the school. Some of the classrooms had objects and materials that could be easily thrown, such as chairs, toys, trampolines, scissors, and other materials. Please, someone tell us why we are being complicit in this. Why are we allowing this to happen? Because DESE says MCAS scores have to go up? Because there isn't money to have the staff we need? Why do you think we can't find staff? Who would want to come and endure this? Why do you think 41% of us are non-PTS? And you're right, it doesn't just happen in Chicopee, and it isn't in just Massachusetts, it's all over the United States. But this is where we are, and this is where we have to start. For 3 years, I've tried to ask for help. I've begged for help. Baby steps. Everything is taking too long, is too ineffective, and is too small. Again, going back to that Department of Labor standards report, they did issue a civil citation and civil penalty to the Chicopee Public Schools in that case, in accordance with 454 CMR 25, which requires public sector employers to provide a safe and healthful work environment free from recognized hazards that may cause serious injury, physical harm, or death. And in their corrective action to Chicopee Public Schools, they stated, develop a written workplace violence prevention program with the main objective and goal of ensuring health and safety of school and staff. They also said, and I'm going to just go right down the list, define the roles and responsibilities of management and leaders about the health and safety of school staff. Provide responsive and timely communication to staff daily. Survey the classroom design and space to remove objects and materials that can be easily used as weapons. Provide training for all staff in the school on the definition and safety aspects to prevent incidents of staff injury caused by student behavior. Provide personal protective equipment needed when applying safety care techniques. Employees must be trained in their proper use, limitations, and maintenance of the PPE. Establish a procedure to report all incidences, including near misses and close calls, that involve injurious student behavior. Encourage direct involvement of the central administration, superintendent office, and all staff, teachers' aides, paraprofessionals, principals, counselors, social workers in the workplace violence prevention program. Request the input of all staff affected to develop and implement the Workplace Violence Protection Program. Work with workers' comp to collect and analyze incidents that involve injurious student behavior and staff. Compare the incidents with previous years to evaluate and make reviews of the program and policies. Are these things being done? When will they be done? Why weren't they done in the first place? Do we even know of any of this? So, we're down to what I can ask you to do. Here's your actions. First of all, your educators are saying we need transitional classrooms for students that to us it is evident they are not able to perform and be supported correctly in a regular classroom. But they're also maybe not ready or eligible for the academy. 2, be the educational leaders and find a way to enable us to do the work of educating, not just surviving, and keep us safe. Stand up at the state level, stand up to the community, and stand with us. 3, review the amount of money. $500,000 is spending on outsourcing our unit positions. The contract for outsourcing paras is $118,000. You're paying them $118 an hour. Raise the paras' salaries and don't outsource. You wouldn't have to outsource. Review the amount of money we spend on insurance due to so many people having emotional health issues or harm done at our school. If you want to save money, help people reduce their stress. If we reduce their stress, we reduce their claims. If we reduce their claims, your insurance will go down instead of our insurance costs increasing. Make your budgetary decision reflect a culture where you are going to keep us safe and give the staff and students the resources to have what we need to manage ours and their social emotional needs. And I don't mean just yoga. Take a hard look at how you're spending the Student Opportunity Act money. I've been asking this for years. Get out the act, look at it, go over it together, and figure out where you really can help these people in the classrooms and not just what's handed to you on a piece of paper. Set higher expectations for students and family relationships. They will reach the bar you set, but right now, the bar is set too low to sustain. It is not acceptable to allow parents to talk to, text, or write to anyone in a disrespectful or assaulting way. Stand up to DESE. Tell them what is going on and that we cannot build relationships needed when we're spending so much time, energy, and stress worrying about MCAS. Ask the tough questions and create a culture of support rather than retaliation. No one wants to say anything because they're afraid they'll be the fall guy. We're all the fall guy. Help us stop falling. Create an environment for student support, SPED or non-SPED, that involves all the people who are responsible for his, her, or their education, and make it a collaborative effort. Review Article 22 of the Unit A contract and ask for the incident reports to come to you so you know what is going on. You are the school committee and have that right. And make Article 22, the protection clause and its full rights, part of every single contract. Put similar and better protection language in all 4 contracts so you show us that you protect us. Put that action plan that the DLS asked you to do in that one school into every building. And lastly, when someone is hurt, give them paid administrative leave like Springfield does. Don't make them use their own sick time and then use it up and then be paid per hour. I know you all want the best for our staff, I truly do, and our students, and that's why we are here. We don't think you're aware of the degree to which the unacceptable, unsafe, and disrespectful behaviors have become the norm. I hope you read the DLS report. I hope you'll take my suggestions and choose to be our voice and to be the instrument of educational change in the city of Chicopee and the state of Massachusetts. Thanks.
Kate Moss.
That's a tough act, but I'll do my best. Kate Moss, 115 Hampden Street, Bow, physical educator. I'm speaking today with my concerns for the safety of students and staff in the elementary schools. Aggression and violence by students is occurring more often, especially among our youngest students. In the last 3 years, we've seen huge increases in dangerous behaviors without a matching increase in district procedures, staff resources, nor staff and student protections. Numerous staff have been injured repeatedly, even when trying to use different strategies and incentive plans for our students. While being injured is concerning to me, as a professional, I am even more concerned for the classmates of these dysregulated students. Several classrooms have at least one student who becomes violent on a near daily basis. This violence may include screaming, swearing, threatening, throwing items, tipping furniture, kicking, hitting, and more. That leaves the other students distracted, scared, and sometimes crying. Even when we can send the students and the teacher to another room during this behavior, the kids have already witnessed the violence and aggression before they can get out of the room. Sadly, there are students who experience trauma, abuse, and domestic violence in their neighborhoods or homes. Being exposed to violence in school is normalizing these behaviors. This will have a lifelong impact on their expectations and trust of others for years to come. Our students who have safe places to go home to are now having their first experience with aggression and violence in schools. Being exposed to these behaviors, the loss of learning time, and concerns for personal safety and injury is frankly a disgusting disservice to everyone. The hardest part of our jobs right now is trying to tell our students that they are always safe at school, that we will always keep them safe, because right now, that's not the reality. I implore you to come into the schools, not just escorted into the schools. Volunteer in a classroom, substitute teach. We could use the help. Thank you.
Christine Gillette.
Wow, those are some big shoes to follow. I just want to say, put me in front of a sixth grade classroom any day. This is not my calling in life. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Christine Gillette. I am a resident of Westfield and a teacher at Bellamy Middle School. I teach sixth grade science at Bellamy. I have been teaching in this district for 6 years, and I previously taught 4 years in another district. As we have all heard, teachers are leaving the classroom in record numbers. Teaching has become a career that is affecting teachers both physically and mentally. Last year, the Chicopee School District had a huge number of teachers leave the district. I felt I needed to come and speak to the school committee members to let you know of an issue that may cause more teachers to leave the district. For the first time since coming to this district, I am questioning if the Chicopee School District is the right place for me. This change in heart has nothing to do with my school. I love Bellamy Middle School. The administration team is great. My fellow teachers are amazing. Some of them are here to support me today. I love seeing my students grow as young adults and scientists. You see, the issue I have is I discovered at the start of the school year there was a potential issue with my pay. Now, many of you would think that is not possible, as there is a Unit A contract and teachers are paid per the contract. This is not the case. It was discovered when the raises went into effect in the fall, last fall, that I was being paid as a Step 9 employee, even though I was in my 10th year of teaching. When I asked about it to many different people, I was given all sorts of reasons. I believe the issue comes from, get this, the 2015-2017 contract, when there were 000, 00, and even a 0 step. Why there are all those steps, I don't know. But anyways, during one conversation with HR, the question was asked, if a new employee came to the district with the same experience as Christine in their 10th year of teaching, what step would the new employee be hired at? HR replied, a new employee would be hired at a Step 10, 1 step higher than I am currently employed at. According to Article 8, Statement 5 in the contract, the Unit A contract, it says it is agreed upon that no new employee, Unit A member, will be given a higher salary than a presently employed Unit A member with equal experience and training. When I mentioned this line in the contract, I was told, you can quit, reapply for your same position, and we will hire you at a higher step. Let me repeat that one more time. You can quit. You can reapply for your same position, and we will hire you at a higher step. I was told that this issue would be brought up to the superintendent, and I was told that the superintendent would be told that because of the current contract, a new employee would be hired at a higher step. The response that I got after that meeting took place was that no change would be made to my step or to my pay. This comes as a huge shock, as it seems I am not being valued as an existing employee of the district. If I quit my job, there is no guarantees. I could lose my sick time and my personal time that I have accrued over the 6 years. I could lose my professional status and my seniority. I know that there are other teachers in this district that have the same issue and have also been told to quit their job and reapply for the same position. I know this because I work with at least one other. And I know that I was told that there are other people in the district as well. Please know that when I was told to reapply for a position that I already have, what I heard was that you are not valued as an employee and you can be replaced. I felt I needed to speak out as the end of the school year is upon us, and we know many teachers are questioning if they want to continue to teach and if they want to continue to teach in the Chicopee district. I needed to know that I spoke out about this issue to anyone and everyone who would listen before I made any decisions about my future that would affect my family. I want to make it clear I am not asking to be paid more than what the Unit A contract states a teacher with my experience should be paid. But I am asking to have the issue for me and for the other teachers in the district that are having this issue fixed without having to quit our job. Thank you.
Mark Bell.
Good evening. Mark Bell of 73 Thoreau Drive, Chicopee, Massachusetts. I am here to represent a student of mine, Noah. Noah, will you please stand? And Mom is here with him. I'm not only here to represent him, but I'm also here to represent future 8th grade students. Jackson, will you stand? Jackson is my oldest son. He attends Bellamy and is in 6th grade. My youngest likes this song by Twisted Sister. The song is, "We're Not Gonna Take It." And in this song it says, the teacher asks, what do you want to do with your life? And so I'd like to bring all of you back to when you were 14 years old and ask the question, what do you want to do with your life? That's a big question for a young person. And so that question is being asked of several of our students. It was asked of Noah. And Noah said, I want to go into the CTE program at Chicopee Comp. Noah, leading up to this, did the right things. He got good grades, generally an A-B student. Good conduct. Generally good attendance. In 7th grade, he only missed 6 days of school. And I say all this to say, I don't know what to tell him. I don't know what to tell him because Noah wasn't accepted into the program. And I don't know what to tell him because there's no transparency in how the ranking system works, how it is weighed. Sure, I know you need to have good grades. Sure, I know you need to have good attendance and good conduct. And you have to answer the questions on the career inventory just right. But I don't really know anything else because I don't know how they weigh it. Because those in charge of the CTE program will not share that information. And so I am here this evening to say we need transparency. We need transparency. Not only that, but the kids know. One student in Noah's class, upon learning that Noah was not accepted into the program, said, blank made it and Noah didn't. Just to let you know, that blank student just was suspended for 5 days because, for one of the reasons, he pushed a teacher. If you would, school committee, please refer to the email I sent you last night. Hopefully you had a chance to look at it. In that email, I sent over the report cards of 2 students. One student being Noah, the other student being another student of mine who was accepted in the program. That student according to the formula, the mysterious formula, got 1 point higher than Noah. I'd like to read a few of the grades in comparison. First, I'll start with Noah. They looked at first term and second term. Math, B+, C. Social studies, B+, B-. Science, B+, B. Now, for the other student who was accepted into the program. ELA, B-, C-. Math, C-, F. Social studies, D, D+. Science, C-, D+. Now, I understand good grades, good attendance, good conduct, and whatever else the questionnaire is involved in this rubric. But I ask you this question, and it comes off the DESE website. I'm just going to read it. A VTE school/program's decision to employ a selective admissions process is a significant responsibility for the school with lasting impacts on applicants. And the question is this: is it fair to not know what is asked of the students? Is it fair? School committee, you get a say in this. Off the DESE website again. The regulations require the Board of Trustees or school committee of the CVT school/program to approve any selective criteria annually. I've done my research. I'm still trying to figure out where and when you guys approved the criteria. If you can help me with that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Noah Powell.
My name's Noah, and I go to Bellamy. I'm in my 8th grade final year, and I would like to know why I didn't get into the CT program, because I work hard, I get A's and B's, I do my work, I turn it on time. Unless I need extra help, then I turn it in a little bit late. But yet another student who acts out, doesn't do the best work, don't even do the work at all, somehow gets accepted, and I don't. And that's my question. Thank you for your time.
Lauren Garlett.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren, excuse me. My name is Lauren Garlett. I'm in my 19th year teaching at Bellamy Middle School. Noah is one of my current students. I'm very proud of him for having the courage to speak up tonight. And we literally talked about roll call votes in class today, so I'm super happy that he got to see one in action. Thank you for that. And I'll be asking you to tell the class about that tomorrow, so be prepared. Maybe write another speech on your phone. You got this. So I knew that I wanted to come to speak to the school committee this evening. Many of you have heard me speak before. I always have lots to say. I am always willing to use my voice to speak for my fellow colleagues, for my students, in what I think is the best interest of Chicopee Public Schools. And considering I'm in year 19, obviously I'm in this for the long haul. So I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to say. I knew I wanted to speak about the health and safety. And then my Monday happened, and I knew exactly what I was going to say. And I think of Office Space where it looks like somebody has a case of the Mondays, and oh boy, did I. So in my first period class, I have a student who is so atrociously dysregulated that he has not completed or turned in a single piece of work for me so far this term. He's failing for the year. Because he is such a chaotic disruption in my class, I asked him to move his seat, and he refused. I asked him 10 times to move his seat, and every time, more and more rudely, he refused to follow my directive. It was not his worst day because he did not tell me to shut the F up or call me an effing B or call another student the N-word or tell me that he enjoyed class more when I was not there and I should go get sick with COVID again because it was better. But I cannot even account for the amount of teaching and learning that has been lost this year because of this one student. And I could show you the emails and the phone calls and the consequences that have been given to the student, and the behavior has not changed once. In fact, it's getting worse. So that was my first class. In my class after lunch, another emotionally dysregulated student came late, as she usually does, because she knows it upsets me, and then caused a scene when I asked why she was late to class. She then, as usual, looked for other students in the class that she knew she could engage with, and she started arguing across the classroom with them. She also insulted me, again, as she usually does, by telling me I should just go ahead and teach and leave her alone, and why can't I control my class because she doesn't control how other kids behave, even though she looks for other students to cause conflict with. And again, it wasn't a horrible day because she didn't swear at me or slam the door or throw things around the classroom or throw hand sanitizer at another student. However, she and another student had to be removed because of this arguing back and forth. I have students in that class that speak 7 different languages. And guess who I spend most of my time on? That one student. Again, I cannot even tell you how much the learning of those students has been intensely and unfairly disrupted by one student who shows no regard for herself or others. And again, as Kate pointed out, these are kids that come with trauma from being in refugee camps and things like that, and that is what they witness in a classroom on the daily. And then came the fight. I was heading downstairs in the transition from E to F block. I held open the doors for students moving to their exploratories. And then I saw something happening behind me in the alcove under stairwell A, next to the back door to room 112. 2 students that I did not know were engaged in an altercation, and one student was holding a clump of hair in her hand. A female student was filming the incident on her cell phone. I immediately yelled through the open doors to the 6th grade hallway for someone to call for another teacher, as I was the only adult in the vicinity. And then I went to the students. I did not attempt to break them up, but I did try to move the other students that were there watching it out of the way. The female student recording the fight gave me pushback because I got in front of her filming. I'm glad I wore makeup that day because I'm sure I had a starring role in many videos. Although by the end of the day, my makeup was, off my face because it was hot. So I yelled numerous times for the students to stop at the top of my lungs. Please stop fighting. Stop, stop, stop. And I again told anyone in the vicinity, go get help. Someone get help. Find another teacher. There were no other adults present, but a large crowd of students had gathered and many were recording on their cell phones. The 2 students broke apart temporarily, and I tried to get other students out of the way, but they continued to film. The students started at each other again, and I again yelled for someone to get help. Again, students continued to watch and film. Finally, the students broke apart, And then one of the security officers appeared and backed the female student up while I had the male student apart from her. At that point, more adults began to arrive and the crowd dispersed. I have never felt so unsafe in any situation at Bellamy as I did on Monday. I was boxed in by students who seemed to be ignoring all of my attempts to end the conflict. They just continued to film the incident. No adults could get through the crowd of students to help me. I do not know if any of the students even went to get help, or if someone just heard me yelling, saw the crowd, and came to investigate. Either way, it was an extremely unsettling incident that took me a good long while to calm down from. I would like to remind you that if a lockdown occurs, I am supposed to stand behind my classroom door, ready to put myself in harm's way to protect my students from anyone that means to do them harm. And yet, currently, it is the students in the schools who are causing harm and making schools unsafe. So anyways, that was Monday. If you'd like to hear about Tuesday, or today, or my ideas for how the district can address these issues, or about my amazing and talented and dedicated colleagues that show up every day, and despite experiencing the same things I do, and worse, on the daily, please stop by room 212 at Bellamy Middle School on a 90-degree day. I would love to speak with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes public input. We will now move on to visitors. Scott Chapdelaine, update on HVAC projects.
Hello, Scott Chapdelaine, Director of Maintenance. I stood in front of you guys in September 2023, and we talked about some air conditioning projects that were going on, and I just want to give you an update on where we stand now. So, as you probably remember, in 2019, we had a $3.8 million bond. We had $600,000 set aside to air condition 9 schools, because only 6 schools had air conditioning in all their classrooms. So in 2019, we started that project in July of 2019. We made some headway, and then COVID hit, so we did a 2-year gap. We pretty much did nothing for 24 months in classrooms for air conditioning. When Dr. Ware started, we sat down and came up with a plan and came up with a date of April 28th to get 3 more schools online. So as of April 28th, we finished Berry, Fairview, and Stefanik. So right now we have 7 out of the 9 schools done since 2019. We have 2 more schools to do. We are doing this in-house with our in-house staff. We did subcontract some of the work to speed it up to make that deadline, and we plan on doing more of that in the future. Right now, we are scheduled to start Litwin on the 28th. I worked the Principal Massey on a schedule of how we're going to make that work to get the work done during the day, and that's the big thing, getting this work with our staff done during the day, not to disrupt the entire building. We did look outside to do Bellamy. We had a company come in, a consulting company, because I was asked by the school committee at one point at our facility subcommittee to come up with a price on how much it would cost to have Bellamy air conditioning in all classrooms done by an outside contractor, and the estimate came in at $5.2 million. So we looked for the funding, and we didn't have it at the time, and since we were making such headway at the schools we're doing now, we're thinking Litwin probably will be, we're going to push to get it done by the time school gets back into session in August, at the end of August. That's what our goal is, to get it done by then. And then in the meantime, we're going to look at other avenues for Bellamy. But to go back to the $600,000 to have in-house staff do that project, we have 7 buildings complete, and we've spent $425,000 out of the $600,000. So you can see how much in-house staff, and we have a great team. They all work together. They really are the all-stars on getting this project done on the allotted time that we set. I'm very proud of the staff we have. Our craftsmen are second to none. I wouldn't take them over any other district. They're hard workers, and they got these projects done in time. We also have, when I stood in front of you in September, we talked about an 11-school air handler project, which we were going to go out to bid for a project which is cafeteria and gymnasiums in 11 schools. We're going to add air conditioning. We did all the legwork on that. We went out to bid, and no contractors put in for the project. I think the main problem was it was basically 11 schools, so it was 11 projects that were going on, and not one contractor put in for the general contract, put in for the bids. So then, talking to the E-team, we broke it down and pretty much did the schools that will not have air conditioning. We broke it down to Bellamy and Litwin, because that time we knew we were going to hit the goal for our April deadline. So we were pushing to do at least the cafeterias and gymnasiums at Bellamy and Litwin, so they would have areas to go to receive air conditioning in the building. We went out to bid, went through that same process again, which whenever I say that process, it's about two months to go through the process. We went through the process, and one contractor bid the project, but because the contracts were combined together, the limit was past that contractor's DCAM rating. So he could only do $3.4 million of work, and it was $4 million of work, so that contractor was not eligible for the project. So then we went out to bid again, and now we bid the project separately. Litwin's a separate project, and Bellamy's a separate project. We did have, today I had a meeting because the filed sub-bidders closed, and next Wednesday I will know or hopefully, but we think some of the contractors that we have talking to and have given tours of the facilities seem like they're very interested in this project now that it's just broken down to 2 schools. So next Wednesday that bid opens, and I should have more information on that.
Any questions for Scott? You're off the hook, I guess.
Thank you very much.
Move on to regular order of business. Approval of minutes 24-5-8.
Move that the minutes of the regular meeting of the school committee held on May 1st, 2024 be approved.
Mr. Brooks.
Motion to approve.
On that motion, any comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Personnel action taken.
Report on personnel action taken. I'd like to call Ms. Deb Green up to the podium for an update.
Good evening, everyone. On your personnel report in front of you, we have 5 new appointments. We have 4 resignations and a handful of retirements that Dr. Ware will read for you. In addition, we have about 90 postings up on Power School. We are beginning to post for our anticipated openings in the fall. In addition, we have begun planning and advertising with Western Mass News. I believe it was scheduled to start today on their We're Hiring Wednesdays, on their ticker and on their webpage, and also with WWLP. We are in the works for some advertising with them. Thank you.
Good. Dr. Ware?
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to read the retirements for this school committee. Up first, from this evening, Ms. Laura Demakis, president of the CEA, math teacher at Bellamy Middle School, 23 years, 4 months of service. Throughout the years, Ms. Demakis has been a dedicated teacher and dependable colleague at Bellamy Middle School. Ms. Demakis' caring personality has reached numerous students of the Chicopee Public Schools. In addition, Ms. Demakis is a passionate educator who always puts students' needs first. Bellamy Middle School will miss Ms. Demakis, but are happy that she will be able to spend more time with her family and traveling. Up next, Mr. Christopher Dowd, social studies teachers at Chicopee High School, 19 years of service. Mr. Dowd has been teaching at Chicopee High School for 19 years and several more in the Springfield Public Schools. Mr. Dowd was very involved at Chicopee High as a football coach and the district as the grievance chair for the union. Mr. Dowd has always been an advocate for students and will be missed by students at Chicopee High School. Chicopee High School says they know that Mr. Dowd will enjoy having more time to travel to see his 2 sons. They wish him all the best in his retirement. Up next, Ms. Christine Oliver, kindergarten teacher at Bowie Elementary, 35 years, 3 months of service. Bowie Elementary School would like to congratulate Ms. Oliver on her retirement. They state that her contributions as an educator has made a significant impact and left a legacy that many students and many teachers will endure for a lifetime. They thank Ms. Oliver for her guidance and friendship throughout the years. She will be surely missed. Last but not least, Mr. Mark Shurefield, social studies teacher at Chicopee Comp, 30 years of service. Mr. Shurefield is a dedicated teacher, committed coach, and supportive colleague. He is equally liked by his students, athletes, and fellow staff members, both past and present, because he is caring, thoughtful, generous, and helpful. He will be missed by the entire staff at Chicopee Comp, and they wish him all the best in his retirement. Thank you all to the 4 retirees for their many, many years of service.
24-5-10, damage to building report? I'm sorry, Ms. Pratt.
Just for the listening public, we have about 15 employees of attending different conferences in May and early June. We have a variety of staff, ELL teachers, superintendents and assistant superintendents, and food services attending such programs as Healthy Kids, Healthy Program Summit, Elevating Practice, Trauma-Informed Practice, Communications and Media, Public Relations and Crisis Communications, the 2024 Massachusetts Energy Education Workshop, as well as the Massachusetts Association of Teachers of Speakers of Other Languages, and a statewide SPED conference. So there's a variety of programs that various personnel in our district are attending in the next month or so.
Is there any other comments?
Thank you, Mr. Lamoth. I would like to just take a moment to congratulate all 4 retirees. Not often do you see this many years of dedication and service to one school district. So thanks to all 4 of them for your years of service. I do want to speak just a brief minute here about Mark Scherfeld. I had the pleasure of being in Chicopee Comp when Mark was a teacher. Always very, very upbeat, fair, and I had the opportunity to play baseball for him. And obviously, we all know that he didn't do it for a paycheck. He did it because he loved to teach, he loved the game, and he loved to see enjoyment in kids. So I just personally want to thank Coach Scherfeld for his dedication and for all the stuff that he taught so many of his players. Thank you, Mark.
Any other comments? Mrs. Schofield?
Yes, I'd also like to, I had the honor and pleasure of working with Mrs. Oliver at Bowie for 18 years, and she is truly a marvel, and the way that she builds a foundation with kindergartners is just something to behold. So I wish her the best, and I just wanted to also thank Laura Demakis for not only her role as a teacher, but her help with the CEA as CEA president. But I wish all the retirees happy retirement.
Any other comments? Mr. Bernard?
Thank you, Mr. Lamoth. Yeah, I just want to congratulate those 4 people also. And I've been very fortunate in my life to get to know 3 of the 4. And Miss Oliver, I worked at Bowie School, my first job there teaching in Chicopee. Very innovative and kind of a sideline mentor to me when I first started. So I have a lot of fond memories of Miss Oliver and what she did for those children. I worked with Mr. Sherfield for a number of years. I've got to know him very well. Doug, you said it very well, so I won't repeat what you said. And Ms. Demakis also, for a lot of years working in the schools and together in her position as president of the CTA. So a big loss for Chicopee for losing those 4 people, but hopefully we can recoup and hire some new people.
Any other comments? We'll move on to 24-5-10, damage.
Damage to buildings report. At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Chapdelaine back up to the podium. Inside of the agenda, you'll see that there's a report that was submitted to you, and Mr. Chapdelaine will give a summary of this report.
Hi, everyone, again. So damage to building report, this has been, you can see it goes pretty far back. It's been a little while since we've provided it to you guys. The normal process in the past was restitution kind of came, it was a lot of times it was when the SROs were in our buildings, the SROs would push for restitution, and I have seen some checks in the past from like parole officers and stuff like from the academy, but restitution, when the principal asks for a number, an amount of what the restitution is, I give that to them because that's the cost of the repair, but that's where it ends there. I don't fight for restitution. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Mrs. Brett?
Just, it might, as you say, you cannot fight for restitution. It may be difficult to obtain restitution for perhaps students who are in family situations whose income level may not allow that extra cash to do that. So
I agree with that, and one of the other points that should be made out that I'm not made aware of, in these schools they could have done progressive discipline or assign that kid to work off an amount of money, which I don't have information on that. I don't.
It would seem perhaps community service of some kind might be beneficial to a student.
In some of these rooms that have the damage are the special ed rooms. So, I don't know how we would charge anyone for that.
Right, that's a different situation, yes. Thank you.
Mrs. Lopes?
So very discouraging that our students are doing this kind of damage to our buildings. I tallied it up. I think it was 5 separate terms, but I came up with $33,000. It's not right. We need to do something about that.
Any other comments? We'll move on to new business. Thank you, Scott. Move on to new business, 24-5-11.
Move that the transfer of funds totaling $2,000 be approved.
Motion to approve.
On the motion? Roll call?
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
Ms. Russo? Yes. Mr. Barcelo?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
Mrs. Perret?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Lamothe?
Yes.
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
11 yes.
Motion passes. 24-5-12.
Move that the bills warrant S050324 totaling $578,614.80 be approved.
Ms. Lopes?
Motion to approve?
On that motion, Mr. Dow, could you read the warrants, please?
Absolutely. So tonight we'll be voting on 2 warrants. I will read the totals of the 2 warrants combined, and then we will vote on those warrants individually. For athletics, $9,738. Food services, $114,116. General expenses, $79,059. Grants, $322,143. Maintenance, $104,933. Special education, $138,756. Student activities, $24,260. Transportation, $204,918. Telecommunications, $124, for a grand total between the two warrants of $998,051.
So we'll vote now on warrant S050324. Any questions on that warrant? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
Ms. Russo? Yes. Mr. Barcelo?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
Mrs. Perrette?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Lamothe?
Yes.
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
11 yes.
Motion passes. 24-5-13.
Move that the bills warrant S051024 totaling $419,436.98 be approved.
On that motion, any questions? Roll call, please.
Can someone make the
Sorry.
motion and then someone needs to make the motion? Mr. Stella?
Oh, Mr. Satella.
To approve.
Thank you.
Can
On
I
that
please
motion.
speak on it really quickly? Just point out.
Absolutely.
As an at-large member, I always like to mimic what Mr. Pease did, Michael Pease did for years and years, and read some of the warrants that we're approving this evening. $3,625 on books, $8,345 for a recognition wall for Chicopee High School. Security for a play at Stefan at School was $486. An oven for our nutrition class, $2,338. Lots of Amazon warrants for teacher materials, supplies. Gateway to College program with HCC was a couple warrants, one for $17,000, one for $59,500. Let's see, $991 for approval for hall monitors and security guards. $52,000 to boost reading student license for 1 year. A bunch of others here. I was happy to see there was a payment or a warrant made for repairs to Bowie Playground. Thank you, Mr. Chapton Lane, $11,445. We've all been waiting for that playground to be fixed. Speed humps at Chicopee High School, $348. I could go on a little while longer, but I think I've said enough. Thank you for listening.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
Ms. Russo? Yes. Mr. Barcelo?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
Mrs. Perrette?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Lamothe?
Yes.
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
11 yes.
Move to executive session. Could I get Mrs. Perrette to read the executive session note, please?
Move that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law, approval of executive session minutes for the sessions held on April 3rd, 2024, and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, the Chicopee Education Association, teacher coverage, occupational therapy assistance, and physical therapy assistants, and the United Food and Commercial Workers Union Craftsmen, and not to reconvene in open session.
And the chair declares that the executive session is necessary to protect the bargaining position of the committee. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
Ms. Russo? Yes. Mr. Barcelo?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
Mrs. Perrette?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Lamothe?
Yes.
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
11 yes.
We'll be moving into executive session.